Hello, welcome back.
Hello, we're here with Momo. It's the Momo moment we're always waiting for. It sometimes doesn't happen though. How is everyone in chat?
Yes, hello to everybody in chat. How's Momo doing today? I
Oh,
know
Momo's,
Miles and Luna have been eager to play in the snow. Uh, all this now that we had a whole bunch of snow today.
you know, Momo is a little too,
Look at her. She's
what's
just
the
like,
word? She's kind of picky with snow. She's like this dog that like will avoid puddles, walk all the way around,
thank.
which I appreciate because, then I don't have to clean her feet. But other than that, she's been really bored today. It's been a pretty boring day for Momo. We didn't go to the dog park. It's kind of been a bummer, but what can you do? But she's almost two, guys.
Wow,
Momo's
yes,
almost two. Her birthday's like Monday.
he is. He's big. What are you doing anything for any celebratory dog treat or anything?
Um, yes, maybe. Actually, I have this lamb cake mold that my aunt sent to me last Easter, and I've been thinking, what can I possibly do with this? I'm thinking maybe I'll make a Momo cake. But I also had a plan to make a Lamb of God cake and fill it with like lots of red stuff, but I made
the
lots of plans for this mold. I haven't done anything, but I
the
feel like
Unfortunately, the only Lamb of God that I know is the death metal band that I used to listen
yes,
to when I was in. Okay, I was like,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Derek
got
Leader and
it.
Dune.
make sure you play.
Exactly.
Make sure you play "Laid to Rest" once you give her that mold. Cool. Random thing for you, chat. I didn't know that we would connect on the death metal band Lamb of God, but if you are a fan, their music is pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm making a cake. Maybe I'll let you know if it happens. In any event, we have an amazing show today. We say it at the start of every one, but this one's no different, of course. And just I think before we even talk about what we're going to talk about today, which you probably all know already, we have a bunch of updates and housekeeping things that we could throw at you as well, including do you get our 2 p.m. emails? I write those every Saturday at 2 p.m. before the show. I slave on those. If you do not get them already and you want to get them, please sign up on our website. Go there, subscribe. You can also donate to the show so the team who puts it on can bring on more cool things. And you can also subscribe to this channel. So if you haven't done that
Mhm.
yet,
One
yeah.
of the best things about subscribing to this channel now is not only does it. Oh, speaking of,
Thank you.
thank you, Vodka Lover, for the subscription. What I was just about to say is we are slowly rolling out different features that come integrated with Twitch, so that you, our audience, can take advantage of some of the things that you might be used to at some other Twitch pages or just on the Twitch platform in general. Like I said, we generally do have things like notifications turned off only because it kind of interrupts the nature of the show as we try to keep it generally kind of podcasty style. However, one of the things that we can absolutely give back to you is with your subscription, not only is continued shows like this and new topics, but we can also give you emotes now. And so, for those of you who are currently subscribed, you can take advantage of our new Tokyo House Party hype emote, which was made by yours truly. And it is our a little crow friend that you can, or not necessarily a crow, but we can tell you more about that, that you can use in channel just to help hype up the show, celebrate the show, and so on. Yeah, hello,
Yeah.
Vodka Lover, and thanks for subscribing.
Thank you so
Um,
much. Yeah, everybody, we totally notice when you subscribe. We totally see when you donate, when you sign up for our emails. And yeah, thank you so much. It's a new year, so we just want to say thanks again, and thanks to Derek for making this really cute yatagarasu,
That's a good
which is
answer.
what that is. Just a tidbit. The Tokyo House Party is kind of under the umbrella of the Japanese Arts Foundation, and the kind of mascot for the Japanese Arts Foundation is this yes this bird yatagarasu. It's a three-legged crow who was. It's a long, kind of convoluted story that you can find in Shinto lore, but was the bird that helped find the first ruler of Japan to Japan. How about that? We'll put it
Hmm.
there. And please feel free to check out our site if you want more details. But yeah,
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I typed it in chat for those who want to race off to Google and search it. But um, we have so many other things to talk about. What are there any other updates that we want to review before jumping into what our show
Hmm,
topic is?
hmm, hmm. Yes, just a reminder, you may be watching us on Twitch right now. But if you ever don't feel like coming all the way to this channel, you can also watch on our brand new cool website, which streams the show live as we're on it. Thank you to Sai so much, who has been like such a jewel.
Totally. I'm going to send that off into chat for those of you who want to check it out as well. Basically, through internet wizardry, the Twitch stream is directly feeding out to the website. Thank you for your magic, Sai.
Yes. Yes, Sai makes all of the really cool graphics that you can find on our social media, such as Instagram and Facebook. That's the Japanese Arts Foundation. If you want to follow us, you should, because we do lots of cool things there too. And I feel like this is the end of all of the things I can possibly dump on everyone.
Sweet. So today we are talking about very, very futuristic things, very contemporary things, a little bit of tech, a little bit of art and tech as they meet together, as well as some household conveniences.
Yeah, I also feel like we're also talking about the future of communicating and exploring and knowing each other too. So I feel like we're all in the right place to do all those things today. And this is the Neo Tokyo episode of Tokyo House Party. So
Yeah.
you're in the right spot.
Yeah. If you're coming off of, or if you're a fan of tech things, then you might be interested in CES. What is it? The Consumer Electronics Show. That C might mean something else. CES.
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, CES just happened. I usually only refer to it by the acronym, and I am not a constant viewer of it myself, but I do know that it is a conference that happens every year with a myriad of tech showcases from various companies, and so you'll see updates from not only things like electronics, but robots and well, that's still electronics. New updates for devices, peripherals, and all those types of things. And if you are coming off of that kind of news, those types of updates, then this will also be a pretty fun show for you. Without further ado, what's our first guess, our first topic?
Yeah, so I feel like we could at least, if you haven't signed up for the 2 p.m. email, and if you did, you already know these things because we so carefully delineated all of them. But so tonight we have a bunch of different guests. We have like kind of a packed show as normal. We have Killakuma, an individual who designs, creates, and crafts virtual avatars. We have I always make a mess of this and you hear it in the video, the Japan Information Center / JIC, which is the Consulate General of Japan in Chicago. They'll be joining us later. Then we have TOTO, which, if you don't know what that is, I might table it so we can create some hype for it in a little bit, because this is the stuff we all want from Japan from the future.
Mm-hmm.
And we also will be talking a bit about cyborgs and identity and gender with Van, who will be joining us, of course, at the end of the show, but also before we stream Ghost in the Shell for everybody. So this is going to be such a fun night when we'll be around to chat while we stream it. And then we'll turn it over to Van, as we always do, who has created a really special city pop DJ set that is very cyberpunk-esque.
Yep. One thing I'll add is Ghost in the Shell is the reason we're able to stream it is because it's brought by the convenience of Amazon Prime being integrated into Twitch and allowing us to do certain watch parties. And so there is a selection of anime within Amazon Prime, and every now and then before each episode, we try to see if there's anything that might help bring together that conversation with the watch party, whether it's an episode of something, whether we can use it for an excerpt. But if you have Prime, it would be a good time while we're on this show to link that up with your Twitch account, because that'll allow you to do the watch party with us and watch time synced as we're watching it.
Or borrow someone's Amazon Prime account.
There you go. Yeah, so our first topic today, we are going to be, well, we already did it. We pre-recorded, thanks to the lovely convenience of things like Zoom and cross time zones coordination. But we are meeting with the VTuber, Killakuma, who is an individual that during this interview, it's about a 20-minute interview that we'll make sure to provide links for you to go follow as well. But she is a streamer, Twitch streamer, content creator, and on the platform as a VTuber specifically, which she will be telling you about shortly. Before I kick it off, Sarah, is there anything that I am missing?
You're not missing a thing. However, I'll just throw in there that in this episode of Neo Tokyo, we're kind of looking at a lot of different perspectives on what the future is, be that in tech, in communication, in art. So we're talking to a lot of different people who can give us a few insights into those things that maybe will be meaningful for us. So that's kind of what we're about here. And I think that Killakuma is going to be a really cool introduction to thinking about the future of what we're all doing here.
Cool. All right, let's kick it off. We are now recording. Cool. Hey, thank you for joining us again, Killakuma, on this episode of Tokyo House Party. Really appreciate having you on an episode where we're talking about Neo Tokyo and basically just the future contemporary things as it relates to the topic. And so I really feel like VTubing has a space in this conversation as well as streaming. But I would love to give you a moment to our viewers who will be watching this in the future, an opportunity to say a bit about yourself, if you don't mind giving us an introduction.
Oh, hey. Hi, I'm Killakuma. I like sheeps and stringy cheese, and I draw chibis for half my living. And that's basically it. I'm an art streamer, and sometimes I do variety things like play games, and that's it.
Word. Yeah. Oh,
Very
that's great.
simple.
How long have you been on Twitch for?
Actively almost an entire year in February, but I've been doing things off and on for maybe about a couple of months, so maybe a year and maybe 2 years and a half.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
very cool.
You said that you're inspired by sheebs, which we're all inspired by sheebs. We all have one and adore them. But what else inspires your artwork? Kind of what's your perspective? Like what brought you to this space and creating all these digital artworks?
Before I became a VTuber, I was definitely a facecam art streamer, and I did commissions for a bunch of cosplayers back then, actively on Instagram. So they would hit me up on Instagram, and I would do commissions for them, and then occasionally I'd be uploading like Insta stories on me working on the line art and sketching. And a few people have been asking if if I ever decided to go on Twitch to do art streams. And that's kind of where it all started, in the span of 2 years.
Nice. For those at home, I'm sure our viewers come from a wide range of audiences, both in and out of games and anime. But some of them might not be familiar with what you mentioned about face cam. So you care to share what that is?
Oh, yeah. So before I became a VTuber, I would use a regular webcam to broadcast myself while I work on art. But eventually I just there are days where you don't really want to get ready, but you just want to like start streaming, and then you just like pop open like a program like VC Face or Luppet, and then you can just like start streaming and not really have to worry about how you look.
Got it. Yeah. No, that's cool. There are absolutely days that I would prefer to look exactly as I woke up, and instead of having to do anything else to prepare for streaming, like I don't know, shaving and stuff. You touched a little bit. I heard a little bit of the softwares that go into VTubing. Are you able to share a little bit more on what some of those are, or what are some of the ones that you use?
Oh yeah. The program I use to make my model is it's a free program called Vroid Studio. There's a whole bunch of capabilities. Think of it like a very advanced version of like making your own sim character, but you can make your own hair.
Oh, I love it.
But there are also assets you could download freely on a site called Booth. If you just want to like plug in a hairstyle. Sometimes they cost money, sometimes some of them are free. But Booth is like one of the main places where you can go for like VRM assets. VRM is the avatar format I'm using right now.
That's cool. When it comes to the software, are there any types of hardware or peripherals that you have to use that maybe people might not expect go into VTubing?
All you really need truly is just a webcam, but there are VRM there are other programs to use without a webcam, like VMagic Mirror. Like the avatar will just talk by itself, and then it would move by. Wait, no. When you talk, the avatar will move by itself. That way, it looks like you're not just standing there, but like you're breathing and you're actually kind of moving and like fidgeting a little bit.
That's
But
cool.
all you need is just a webcam and a mic, very pretty much.
Well, Killakuma, for people like me who are completely new to all of this,
Mhm.
could you tell us what is a virtual avatar? How is it reflecting you right now, and how have you chosen this avatar to represent yourself?
Oh, to be honest, I had my mascot for a long time now, so I just decided to turn her into a 3D model to represent me as me now. I used to just use like a PNG, but then I figured since VRoid Studio is free and I don't have to pay a lick a cent, I'm gonna make it myself. So here we are.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and so it's responding to how you're moving right now, or how does this work, kind of?
I'm just using a webcam.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
so it
and then
like reflects that your movements and cool.
yeah. But sometimes you have to like emphasize your movements. Like you gotta like turn your head a little bit more to kind of reflect a little more movement in the character. And to track your hands, I'm using a leap motion tracker. You can find it
That's
on
cool.
what's it called? You just gotta Google leap motion and then you can definitely find it there. But it's like a little infrared camera that tracks my hands. It's
So
kind of
cool.
like, you know, a Connect, but it's
Oh yeah.
solely for your hands.
I love it.
Cool. That's really cool. And of this technology and the things that you're talking about, I know that you had mentioned cosplay earlier, but do any of
Mhm.
these things come from Japan, or does Japan inspire any of them, or how do you see those connections?
Oh, in terms of like VTubing?
Sure.
Or I think a lot of it is like people, well, in my category, a lot of artists just bring their characters to life by using a 3D model.
Mhm.
But sometimes people would want like a specific design, but then they wanted to kind of add their little spin on it, so they commission artists like me, or like even people who don't are not into VTubing, they commission them too, and then eventually uh it just kind of branches from there, and then more artists want to get into VTubing, which is really nice. Sorry if that was not really the best answer.
No, that's
No, it's
all
great.
answers are good answers. Absolutely. I'm curious how anime or animation and Japanese arts have kind of inspired this realm.
Oh, I think it really depends, but um let's see. I know a lot of people who did get into VTubing came from VR chat. Like they started VTubing through VR chat, like they do just chatting streams with the avatar they have at the moment, and then it's just I'm not sure. I think they just like take assets from video games, and then people think that's cool and they make it themselves, and then eventually it just became its own original thing from there.
What's an acid?
Asset? Oh, kind of like it's kind of like a characteristic of something. Like you can take someone's hair and then you can make it something entirely new. Kind of like a Frankenstein of different things from different characters, like eye color, eye shape, uh, different fashion, and so on.
Cool.
Yeah. I will poke again and say for some of our viewers who are at home and have not used or are not familiar with VR chat, that is an application that you can use, like VR being virtual reality, headsets and peripherals to access a game and kind of see the game within its entirety in sort of a 360 world. There are a lot of different peripherals out there now making virtual reality games much more accessible for low end and even to high end costs. And so you can have something as low as like just a headset and some controllers, or like a room cams and like a waist trackers. Explaining this to you, Sarah, so that you know as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to kind of clue you in on what VR chat is. One of the things that stands out to me about VR chat, VTubing, and all of these things is the aspect of the avatar itself. I know we touched on, like how it represents you, how it might connect to Japanese media, and I think about a lot of the anime that came before this. It came before this moment. Now that we have this in our reality, and so we had. Of course, there are MMO anime out there, Dot Hack and Sword Art Online, and all these other ones dealing with the narrative of I created my avatar, I'm in the game, and now I'm stuck in the game, and always going into this far futurescape narrative. And so that there's an interesting connection there. In one anime specifically, it was Psychopass. Psychopass has a really good string of episodes, a very short story arc specifically dealing with virtual social media. And for those of you at home who have not seen this show, Sarah, who I don't think you've seen Psychopaths, correct?
No.
You should check it out, especially as it relates to this episode. Psychopaths is a crime investigation anime, so it's a little bit more darker in tone and a little bit more serious. And the story arc that is at play is essentially, imagine if VTubing, VR chat, and Twitter kind of all melded into one, where your avatar is a social media representation of you on the scale of what we have for Twitch and Twitter, where people can have upwards of thousands and millions of followers. And so this particular episode dealt with an avatar that was so popular, but I can't spoil it. I can't. Okay.
Okay, spoiler.
Yeah. Okay. Trying to figure out in a way that doesn't spoil it, because it's really good. I'll speak on it in a way that the episode preview would have given it to you. But there is a very popular social media avatar who it is discovered that they have been murdered. However, their avatar has continued to go live, even past the report of this incident that had happened to them. And then the 3-part episode spans out from there. There we go.
There it is.
So, very dark, kind of dystopian version of things, but bringing it all sort of back, all the way back to here. I
think that's really interesting, Derek, and I love that you brought that up, because a lot of what we're talking about in this Neo Tokyo show is all these futures that are imagined in response to some of these dark storylines that may or may not play out in real life. And that we may or may not be in at this moment, but these arts and these imaginations that respond to these perceived or real threats, and how an avatar or what Killakuma does here is a response in something that's a very compelling and meaningful way to respond to challenges like this. And like you said earlier, one of the perks might be that you don't have to spend extra time in the morning. You can just show up as your true self and not have to worry about those things in this state. But there might be some other benefits as an individual thriving in this space that maybe we hadn't considered yet. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I know a lot of people definitely want to stay anonymous and not have their identity exposed, but I know there's a lot of VTubers who don't mind showing what they look behind their avatar, and surprisingly, a lot of them are very similar to what their avatar looks like. But I know there are definitely a lot of people who prefer to keep the identity hush hush and just live through their avatar.
That's so interesting to me, and I think that's definitely something worth discussing for sure.
One of the lovely things that I think about it for sure is especially in a space where for artist types, coming from a creative background myself, expression is very important for so many people, and having the opportunity to express yourself in unique ways, it creates an opportunity for people to kind of, like what you both already said, but kind of be your true self. And I think VTubing definitely allows for a platform and people to not only have expressions in gender and sexuality, but just allow themselves to be able to be confident in, speaking in an environment that might not normally be comfortable or familiar. that said, kind of seeing all those things, the dystopian part and the positive side and all of that. Killakuma, I would love your thoughts on, from your experience in doing commissions and things like that. Where do you think VTubing is kind of headed, or if it's a bit more of a narrower question, where would you like VTubing to go? Like, what's the best case scenario for VTubing?
I think VTubing can be seen as a casual thing, but I know there are a handful of people who are especially big fans of Hololive or Niji Sanji, which are industry VTubers that play a character. They see VTubing as strictly that, but they don't really see indie VTubers as a people. Like majority of us
Oh,
are people. Some of us play characters, but sometimes we kind of slip out of it. But I think it's just I want more people to accept that people do VTubing for different reasons. Like they don't just play a character. Some of them just want to throw on their model and just stream, you know?
yeah.
Like it can be like a casual thing, but if you want to play a character, you can totally do that.
That's a really good point. I didn't. There's absolutely like a corporate side to this as well. And wow, yeah, that could get dystopian real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry it got a little bit dark.
No, I brought up psychopaths and murders and things like that. So
Don't worry. No,
Yeah.
no, you're in the right place here. I'm curious too because I looked at your website and some of the things that you do, and you're just an amazing artist. And you obviously sell
Aw.
prints and other things too, and pins and all sorts of Shiba themed things, which I adore, of course. But you also make these avatars for others. Is that right?
I do, but the thing is though, these models do take a long time and
I'm
there's been
sure.
a very high demand for it especially. There can only be so much soul I can put into each model, you know? Because
Yeah.
all of them are my babies and I
Right.
want them to all look good.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
just hope that people are down to wait, even if they think VTubing is going to be kind of not relevant maybe in a year or so. But, you know, I
Yeah,
hope they can wait.
Of course, they can wait for all good things.
100%. About how long does it take to make a commission or complete a commission for any of your clients?
It really depends on how simple their model is, to be honest. And I just recently started learning Blender to like emphasize certain things like calves and
Mm.
arm thickness, because the Vroid default models they too thin sometimes. And then if you decide to like thicken the thighs a bit, the calves don't follow. So I have to take it into my own hands to kind of match how my commissioners want it. And I definitely do wish they would have cab sliders.
Is
It's
there
annoying.
that's a that makes me think or wonder, does a platform like or an application like the Roid Studio, that's their name, correct?
Mm-hmm.
um is it accessible as far as providing diversity? If say people from different racial backgrounds want to leap into VTubing, is it providing space for those individuals as well, do you think?
I think so, but I think I really feel bad about it, but I think the female model is the most versatile. And yes, you can definitely be very racially diverse. Well, you can be racially diverse in terms of skin color, but right now they only have like the default anime nose. I
Got it.
really do hope someday they would like provide more button noses rather than pointy ones and have a little bit more defined node structures.
Yeah,
But you can definitely paint it on. You can definitely make it more racially diverse. You just
that's
got to
cool.
be a little bit more elusive about it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciate the information that you shared on your background, your story, and I love especially how you talked about how getting into this has now lent itself to you exploring other softwares, things like Blender and stuff, and it makes me really hopeful in seeing VTubing as a means of accessibility for more people and bringing more people to digital spaces. I love advocating for the space like which we are talking in, and giving people an outlet to be able to see the types of things on Twitch and other platforms. And so I hope that more people get introduced to it. To those of you who are watching at home, if VTubing or streaming has ever been interesting to you, definitely check out some of the softwares. We'll make sure to post those links into the chat and stuff for you to find out and try things out for yourself as well. But yeah, thanks for sharing all this really amazing information, and taking the time out of your day to speak with us.
Thank you for having me. I never really done this kind of stuff before. Big pleasure, big pleasure.
Yeah. We keep things casual, so it's perfect. It's all good in the nature of the show.
Is there anything else you want to loft out there to everybody, like just as your perspective from yourself or from Killakuma?
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah.
let me tell you, I didn't really find out about VTubing until I found several similar VTubing artists. I can like name 3 that I really watched a lot of the time, which is Rose Doodle. I watched a lot of Yamachika and Foxy Joel. Y'all should watch Foxy Joel. He very funny. He a little sharp sometimes, but he very funny. He a very pretty haunted doll.
Oh, cool.
And
what?
he really did inspire me to kind of set out to learn more about VTubing. And just with like a YouTube search, you can find definitely so much more resources these days.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it.
Lastly, sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
I was just saying, I really love these 3 adjectives: pretty, haunted, and doll.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love Foxy Joel.
I want to know more already.
We're both very, very spooky folk. Sarah and I, whenever back in the physical realm, are often sharing creepy things with one another, and so now that's been changed to messages. Look at this weird thing, but also amazing thing, and look at this scary movie. Well, I was going to say, one final thing. I would love it if you can share with folks at home, folks who are watching this when this episode goes live, where they can find you, and or any other Twitch or social media links that you want to share with everybody.
Well, I'm mainly active on Twitter and Twitch, and sometimes Instagram, but mainly Twitter and Twitch these days. But Twitter is a lot of shit posting. But Twitch and my Discord definitely have a little bit more art content, but my Discord is also kind of a shit post too. So you can find definitely more art stuff on my Twitch.
Okay. And what's the name for both of those, or for Twitch?
Oh, so Twitch is just twitch.tv/Killakuma, and for my Twitter, it's twitter.com/_Killakuma.
Cool. And you also sell some of your artwork, is that right too? That people can buy in an online shop? It looks like you had some things up there.
Oh, I used to be able to, but I never really opened an online shop for my merchandise. I mainly sold at conventions before I became a VTuber, but we know how that went. Yeah. So I haven't really gotten around to opening up a shop yet because I got a little too busy with commissions.
That's totally fair. We'll just keep a lookout for when you do new fun things, and we'll be here for it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I also forgot to mention, I do plan on putting designs up on a site called TeePublic, so you can kind of buy some similar merchandise there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, to everybody at home, we hope you can look forward to that. Again, Killakuma, thank you so much for joining us. And to those of you at home, follow those links. Like I said, we'll be posting them in the chat when this episode goes live. And we hope that you will take a look at not only Killakuma's channel, but other VTube channels as well. So until then, see you around.
Thank you so much.
Explore more indie VTubers on Twitch.
Yes. Thanks again, Killakuma, for joining us on Tokyo House Party. It was an absolute blast getting to chat with you earlier last week. This week? What day was that? Last week. It was last week. I think you're muted. You're still muted.
Just kidding.
I
was gonna just interject and say I think it was almost 2 weeks ago. It's been a minute.
Yeah. But either way, thank you. If you were watching and VTubing is of any interest to you, streaming any of those things, you should definitely give Killakuma a follow on Twitch. They are a talented artist. I watch them from time to time, which is why I asked them to join the show, because they do a lot of really wonderful artwork on stream, as well as just having conversation. Um, that said,
Yeah, I
Sarah.
wanted to, yeah, I have so many thoughts now, and I feel like I've had more thoughts since we left Killakuma, and we are here today with one another. But one being that I think that, we actually mentioned this after we came to a close in that conversation, thinking about the future and thinking about these virtual avatars and what the possibilities could mean in all kinds of backgrounds and with all kinds of individuals who might find benefits from using those. And I feel like it's completely wide open, and hopefully we can see more of it in thinking of individuals who have varied levels of ability who maybe can find this kind of a platform to communicate and connect and feel everyone in this world. And this is where it kind of ties so into the movie we're watching today,
Mhm.
these shells and the ghosts behind them, and where the meaning is in that, and this new kind of virtual space that we're all occupying, especially because of COVID and all of this kind of new precautions and new creativity we're trying to kind of explore. And I think it's such a cool innovation here, and I'm really curious if others have experience in it, or if you have any thoughts on the strengths and maybe even some concerns you might have about these avatars.
Sure. Vodka Lover added in chat that avatars are intriguing, great for introverts or people who don't want to care about appearance, and I think it definitely starts there, but also extends itself or lends itself as a utility, similar to what you said, Sarah, providing accessibility to those who may have maybe things from just personally not wanting to appear on camera. There's a myriad of things that could impact a person's ability to show up on stream who otherwise might be interested in showing up on stream, where I can only do so much to in my own say position of privilege, being able to have access to a computer, a monitor, a camera, and all this different tech that makes it convenient for me to appear here now. That's not the same for everybody, let alone any physical capabilities that also might be of an impact to that physical abilities. um, that said, as far as like an avatar, the avatar itself, and say the positive and negative. Positive, I certainly see as the accessibility side of it. The negative that I would see just off the top of my head probably brings to question the same sorts of opinions that people might draw of anime characters presently. And so, depending on how your character might appear on as an avatar, as an anime character, I think that that avatar could be subject to the same sorts of sexualizations that an anime character would go through. Say if a person were to look a certain way that people treat fictional characters already. I think that presenting as one through an avatar, which is something that Killakuma touched on, that these are real people behind these avatars, real people that are still here and on Twitch, whether they are playing a character or not. And so your your treatment of those characters and your view of those characters should not be separated from the fact that you can't see a flesh individual behind it, just because that person may or may not look like I don't know, Bulma from Dragon Ball Z or something like that. It does not mean that you should regard them any differently. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel like, and it's something that I think we'll continue to talk about in the show, but this kind of push and pull against fighting against like the nature of people to categorize, and kind of it's just within human nature to categorize things in such a way. And this feels like a way to be free of it, but then would it just become another form of categorization?
Right.
But and I do wonder too, and I just don't know enough about these virtual avatars, if there are more. I mean, just from what I've seen out there so far, they look very much like anime characters. And if there are any, which I guess really privileges a certain aesthetic and a certain yeah look. So I wonder if there are or will be possibilities of different perspectives.
Yeah. And there's definitely a diverse set of VTube individuals, VTube avatars that are available. I know one of the
A
channels.
dog.
Yeah, well, no, a cat. There's a cat named Wasif. Um, yeah, they are really fun and like very funny individual to watch on Twitch. Watching them play video games as well as work through what's unique about their channel is that they work through actively learning and practicing Japanese, and so oftentimes you will see Wasif. Just a black cat sitting in the corner of the screen, translating different games and reading dialogue in Japanese, as well as learning with their audience. And so it's really engaging because it's equal parts like a language experience as well as some very fun jokes about video games and the like.
I love it. This is so cool. And I feel like I'm learning so much through all of these guests we have. This is really interesting to me. And our next guest is different but similar. And I think we're going to spend a lot of today talking about the difference between a robot and a cyborg, an android, an avatar. We're talking about lots of different futuristic things. And I guess we're making a bit of a shift from this avatar into a more formal robot that has a little bit of AI as well. And before we move on from Killakuma, does anyone have any questions about virtual avatars? Anything you want to loft out there? We're here for that too before we pivot a little bit.
Mm-hmm. You can give that a little bit of time for the Twitch delay to make it over into chat while that happens. Sarah, are you going to become a VTuber? Do you have an avatar ready to go? Where is it at?
It's Momo. Momo's my avatar.
There you go. Would you be a Shiba if you had an avatar? Would it look like Momo?
Probably. I think
Yeah.
so. But I do feel like there's something I can like really romanticize a life where like, you know, everyone's working remote and you just show up as this like I'm this dog every day and
That would
you
be
know, I could be in jams all day and no one would know, but you know.
that would be really great. The convenience of being able to show up in a Zoom meeting or work chat as an avatar and then just leave people guessing, especially for any others out there who have no idea what VTubing is or using an avatar in the tech that goes behind it. I think would spin some heads in a work meeting or two.
What about you, Derek? Do you have one?
I don't have one, but I have been actively playing around with Vroid Studio. I touched earlier, but I do have a background in 3D modeling, so yeah, I downloaded Vroid Studio to play around with it a little bit and see what the capabilities are. And I don't know, I would love to continue playing around with it because it can certainly serve itself as a component to my streams outside of Tokyo House Party.
I think we all have some expectations now, Derek. You've just lofted them to us. We want to see it.
I have thoughts. I'm not going to share those thoughts, but I do have. If I were to do any sort of partial digital streams or anything like that, or VTube streams, I have an idea. I have an art direction in mind where it would go. Yeah,
we're here for it. And I guess this is the time. Then we'll pivot over to an actual robot. I'm going to save my opinions until after we share this. I visited the Consulate General of Japan in Chicago's office last week. As I was watching a dog I was terribly allergic to, so I'm just going to lock that out there. If I sound a touch ill, it's only because I have terrible allergies to other dogs that aren't Momo, so it is. But I wonder what you all will think of this robot. And if you have questions, I do believe that the guest that we visit, not the robot guest, but their handler, is in chat. So as we watch and as they explain this very amazing hometown hero here in Chicago, feel free to loft him up.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe the robot's tapped into the internet somehow and has found its way into this conversation too.
No, Derek. No.
That's like our watch party. Anyways, let's continue.
Konnichiwa minasan. We are here at the Japan Information Center inside the Japanese Consulate of Chicago.
Consulate General of Japan in Chicago.
What Julianne said. And this is Julianne Medrano, who is...
I'm the outreach coordinator for the Japan Information Center, which is the cultural affairs section of the Consulate General of Japan in Chicago.
It's a mouthful. I'm really glad Julianne knows it. So yeah, we're here downtown Chicago in this really special space. And maybe, Julianne, could you tell us a little bit about this space, where we are? What is this?
Yeah, so the art consulate has two sections in the building. So this floor is the Japan Information Center, as I said, the Cultural Affairs section. So we mainly share information about Japanese culture here. We have a lot of brochure information for people who are planning to travel to Japan. We have a library for kids and adults who want to study anything about Japan. Our library has books in Japanese and books in English about Japan. I love lots of manga and even children's books. We also have a space in the hall where we have school visits. We have parties here. We have presentations here. Just anything that helps to share Japanese culture.
Totally. And, you know, pre-COVID time, Julianne and I are actually just friends, and so this has worked out so well. But pre-COVID time, we would see each other as colleagues here in this space for lots of different events that the Consulate General of Chicago hosts here, including the Emperor's Birthday, certain professional development programs, different parties. This space hosts a lot of cool things and does a lot for connecting Japan to Chicago. So we are so glad to be in this space today, and including this really special space that we're in right now, which we've decided to hang out in for this duration. Julianne, could you tell us what this is?
Yeah, this is called a chashitsu, which is a special tea room, usually used for tea ceremonies. Very rare to find one in downtown Chicago. It's the only one in downtown Chicago for sure. But we wanted to make sure people who are visiting could see a room like this and see the tatami mats, these straw mats that are or the traditional flooring in Japanese homes, and a tokonoma, this little alcove here, would usually have different scrolls and different flower arrangements for each tea ceremony that goes on. And we have had tea ceremonies here, like for the Emperor's Birthday party, or for schools. Since some high schools are learning about tea ceremonies, so that we would perform them here. We have a colleague, one of my colleagues is very good at performing tea ceremonies, so she can do that for schools and others.
Yeah, so this is such a cool space, and it's always so fun to come to the doors and just walk right into this. Another thing to note is that this is a cool space to talk about this very special episode of Tokyo House Party that we are collaborating on today, which is the Neo Tokyo House Party episode. And so we are talking about things from the future, how Japan has innovated and imagined and created different futures that we now live in, and some that maybe didn't come to be. But here in this space, we're looking at things from the past coinciding with things of present and future. And so much of Japan, as we know, is on the cutting edge of all those things. So Julianne has been so kind to introduce us to a very special guest and talk to us about what he does and how you might find him in your world, or never. We'll see. Yeah. And also, we're waving to someone off camera. Oh, maybe we can welcome someone else in.
Yeah,
Hold on. This is Victoria. Victoria, what do you do here at the JIC in the consulate's office?
Oh, I am the assistant to the consul general, so I just do a lot of scheduling, paperwork, calls, exciting things like that, calendaring, yeah.
Well, maybe you could give everyone a really great example of what does the Consulate General of Chicago, or of Japan in Chicago, do?
Oh, he does so much. He basically represents Japan in the 10-state region of the Midwest, and we're talking from all things. He's the representative, so he does anything cultural, educational, as Julianne would know, and economics. We're talking anything Japan-US related. He's the person to go to.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to add, and tell us about how long you've been here?
Oh goodness, I think I've been here 7 years now.
Yeah. I have to say this is really unique because, you know, I never get to see Victoria in person, to be honest, even before COVID times. And so here we all are in the same space, so this is quite a treat.
And it's good to see you both, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you so much, Victoria.
Thanks so much.
And we're going to pause it right now anyway. We're about to pause, so. Well, Mina-san, we are here with a very special guest who has a few names, goes by a few names, and we were just saying that because we are not marine biologists or zoologists, we don't know a lot of proper terms, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Yes.
So let's welcome Mochi, who has a new name, which is Mochi, but was originally...
Pato. So all of this type of robot is called Pato. I believe it stands for Personal Animatronic Robot.
Personal animatronic robots.
So the RO. In Japanese, it's actually short for Pasanoru Roboto. So the pa from Pasanoru and ro from Roboto.
Okay. What kind of robot is this?
So it's a therapy robot. They're called therapeutic robot seals. But yes, it's actually a medical device. So this is not a toy. People often think that they can buy it for their kids, but it's not like a Furby. This is a medical device.
Not a Furby.
Yes, and so it's usually sold to, let's say, senior homes or hospitals for people who cannot take care of pets, but maybe need the comfort of a pet. Especially it's designed for dementia patients who have trouble connecting with people. They are more easily able to connect with Pato or Mochi. So
Who else would benefit from Mochi?
So a lot of different types of people. Also, children with autism have connected well with Mochi, and children with Down syndrome too have connected well, and also children or people who have to live in a hospital 24/7 and can't go out, maybe are too immunocompromised to be with a real animal. They've also shown to do well with the Mochi.
Wow, so cute. Although on my end, a little unsettling sometimes too.
Yes.
Julianne and I really diverge on this opinion. That is to say, Julianne has spent a lot of time with Mochi, and Julianne is kind of like the Mochi handler, and it's like her spirit animal by now. So she actually gave Mochi this name and trained Mochi to respond to this name and taught them a lot of tricks, such as
Mochi, hi, Mochi. So Pato can adapt. This kind of robot can adapt to a person's touch. I like to touch him with his whiskers. So let's see. And since I do it a lot, he always reacts when I touch him there. I try to say his name a lot. Mochi, Mochi, hi. So he'll react to the name. If anyone gets this robot or any hospital gets it, once they name it and say the name a lot, it should recognize the name. And if there's a caretaker who's with it a lot, they'll recognize the voice over other people's voices as well. Mochi, hi. So I take Mochi to a lot of school visits, not recently, but a lot of events as well. And we do get this reaction where some people think it's a little creepy.
it's the blinking of the eyes. It's the blinking of the eyes and the eyelashes that I'm not so sure.
Yeah, some people think it's just a stuffed animal, so when he suddenly moves, they are just taken aback, which I understand.
Yeah, but he's really special. So tell us a little bit about all of the robotics of Mochi. Like, what kinds of things does he do? What kind of technology is used to give him life?
Well, he has over 200 sensors on his body.
Over 200?
Over 200. So if I touch him here, he can feel it. As I said, the chin, the whiskers, the head, his little tail too, and his back. So he can tell if he's being held like this too. A lot of people like to hold and hug him, and he can react accordingly. Yeah, he also has, besides the tactile sensors, he has light sensors, auditory sensors. The light sensors, he can tell if it's a daytime or if it's light out. So now he's very active because we have the lights on, we're talking. If I were to turn him off, go to sleep, he would follow suit and go to sleep as well. He's got a 32-bit processor.
32-bit?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds fancy.
And he's got a microphones, and that's how you can hear him.
A lot going on. It's looking at
me.
It's looking at me.
He's looking at you.
Okay, so also, how much does Mochi cost?
So as I said, it's not a toy. It is a medical device, and it can cost up to $6,000.
Okay.
So a hospital would usually buy them, but senior homes as well, and everyone that's bought them said it's definitely worth it because it just cheers their patients up. It really helps with their therapy.
Yeah.
So for a hospital, $6,000 certainly worth it. You can also rent it, lease it. for
Okay.
a certain amount of months too,
Okay.
which goes towards the purchase of it. If you
Oh,
can't
so you can
afford
like lease to
6,000.
own like a car.
Exactly, you
Mm.
can lease to own it like a
Mhm,
car.
mhm. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, let's pretend we all can afford a $6,000 mochi or
Mhm.
paro.
Mhm.
Where else might people have seen a paro around?
He's getting more popular outside of Japan. People might have even seen him on TV. He was featured on Aziz Ansari's Master of None, an episode about somebody's grandparents who had one paro to help them. And even The Simpsons had an episode where he was with in Abe Simpson's senior home. They had a paro, a white seal that was certainly paro featured on there. So yeah, definitely getting more popular outside of Japan. To see the actual real one, I think it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Consulates have it, so definitely any event we're part of, we might like to bring him. Even President Obama, when he visited Japan, he met with a paro there because he was learning about Japanese robotics. So that's his claim to fame.
I love it. So you've had a shot with President Obama. That's
Yes.
huge, friend.
Yes.
It's pretty huge. And you know, Julianne gave him this really cute bow tie.
Yeah.
You can see it. And
Yeah, people can dress paro however they like. And anyway, he, her, it's really up to the person. I
Yeah.
say he a lot, but a lot of people think it's a girl from its eyelashes.
it's a lot of eyelash.
Yeah, so it's up to you, whatever. He's gender fluid.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And they come in different colors too, I think. I heard earlier.
There's a few different, just like seals in the wild. There's a white one like we have. There's a gray one. I believe there's a brown one.
Is there no purple?
Yeah, they try to keep it like more realistic.
Okay.
But one thing, they did choose a seal because they tried to make the same kind of robot, same technology as a cat and as a dog, but they didn't do as well because people were easily able to grasp that it wasn't a real cat or dog because we're with cat and dogs all the time. So they kind of had a sense of disappointment dealing with it. But with Paro, I certainly have never held a baby seal in my arms before, so for me it feels realistic.
Yeah.
I can't tell the difference, so this design worked much better than the cat or dog design. That's why we have lots of seals and not Paro cats, Paro dogs.
So we're preying on this uncanny valley
Yes.
of, I don't know what this is, so it can be more real to me.
Exactly.
Because I don't know what a seal feels like.
Yes.
Okay. So we're understanding, and we're waiting to see if Mochi starts barking because he barks like a seal when he's dying.
Yeah.
Which feels a little abysmal. But okay.
Yeah, he makes a lot of different noises, but there is a special one he'll make when he is kind of winding down, and that's when we would start to feed him or charge him.
Yeah, so
to
maybe
give
we
him
can
energy.
we can show you all what it looks like to feed or charge
Yeah,
Mochi.
because he might be a little tired. Mochi, are you okay? Mochi, his little tail is wagging. It's okay, but we can show you how to charge him.
But it's yeah. Oh, I don't know how I feel about it, but we will definitely show you all.
Yes.
What else, Julianne? Is there anything else you want to mention about Mochi? Oh, what's he doing? What's he doing?
he was just resting his eyes. He's fine. Hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it was a little too sudden to bring him up like that.
He's like, no.
Yeah, that was the kind of unhappy part.
So he has feelings for sure.
Yes,
They
he
have
definitely
feelings.
has feelings. That's another thing it can be useful for is teaching children how to deal with animals. If you were to punch Pato or hit him in a way that he does not like, he will make weird barks, as an animal would too. And this way, you can safely teach a child, do not do that without having a child having to physically hurt a live animal.
Right.
So that has been with the children who have behavioral issues. Pato has also been useful on that front. But yeah, I've never hit this Pato because
Thank you, Julie.
I like to take care of my animals.
Thank you. Yeah, this is nice. And we will give you a few more ways to connect with Mochi, and we'll give you a little bit more information if you want to learn more about Mochi, more about the Japan Information Center, more about the Japanese consulate of Chicago, or of Japan in Chicago. Wow, what's the actual term?
Consulate General of Japan in Chicago.
Consulate General of Japan in Chicago.
Yes.
Who is a great partner to us, and Julianne is a good friend personally and professionally. So we're just so glad to get her to come on with us today and bring Mochi to let us know about this really cool robotic that exists here with us. But yeah, and if you have any questions, we will be here live for that in just a moment. But you can also find more information, and we will link to it somewhere.
Yes.
藤
明けましておめでとうございます。
元気ですか？
そう、相当お久しぶりですね。そうね。Oh wow. Yeah, we're making the video for her Tokyo house.
Sorry.
No,
no, it's finished. We just finished it. Good timing.
No, we already had Victoria come on too, because Victoria walked by. So we had lots of cameo guests.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So if anyone wasn't sure that we really are in the consulate's office, we have lots of different colleagues coming in and out, and we can convince only so many to come and talk with us. But that was Kojima-san, who
did the tea ceremony here,
yeah,
actually.
and she makes the most amazing wagashi in different sweets. So maybe another Tokyo house party. We'll see. She also does lots of kimono dressing, and so we'll see. Anyway.
Photo is winding down.
Yes.
You can see him drooping his head, so we're gonna teach you how.
It's like me right before Netflix asked if I'm still watching.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still watching. But yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much to Julianne. Thank you so much to the Japan Information Center, to the Consulate General's office, and to Mochi for spending time with us. I think he's gone. I'm not alarmed.
Mochi.
I'm not alarmed.
Yeah. Mochi, yeah, he's probably falling asleep, so that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yes, of course. Anytime. We'll see more of Julianne and Mochi soon.
Okay, so we are going to show you footage of Mochi charging. Right now he is off. And here is the charger that he has. You can see that it's plugged in to the wall. And then when I plug it into Mochi, that little light that says charge will turn on. So I'm going to plug it into his mouth like this. And now you can see that the light is on and he is charging. So the creator wanted to look like he's just feeding like a normal seal would, and so it has a little pacifier cover, and he looks really cute. And you can actually have him turned on while charging, so I'll show you that as well. Mochi, Mochi, Ohio. Okay, so now he's on, but he still has the pacifier in his mouth, and it is still charging. Hey Mochi, say hi. So there you can see what he looks like while he's charging. Very cute. Mochi, say hi. Hi Mochi, how are you? He's wagging his little tail.
Julianne, can you show us where you turn on Mochi?
Okay, you gotta fiddle around here. There's a button right here. And if you hold it down, see, now he's off.
Mochi's off. Mochi's asleep. And then if you turn him on,
Okay.
what does he do when you turn him on?
Please. Minaide. Mochi? Mochi? Yeah, sometimes it takes a little while to wake up, but he was awake when he made that noise. But he takes a while to open his eyes sometimes.
This is a good one, actually.
Hey Mochi, good morning. Ohayo.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
See, he likes the attention. Ohayo, Mochi.
Cute. Okay, I'm warming up to him.
Sarah, your time with Mochi. You're muted.
First of all, Julianne, thank you so much for your time. And Julianne is in the chat here. Mayuk
Yes.
Pasan is who you can find Julianne in the chat and ask her questions about Mochi. And also, she can prevent she'll have another side of the story, which is I think Mochi's a little bit terrifying, just for me though. Just for me though. But Julianne spends a lot of time with Mochi. I think he comes home with her often, and they sleep under the same roof together at night, and that's okay for them. I'm pretty sure I would be a little afraid with that thing sleeping in my house and that pacifier in it, but you know what? It's 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 really cute. And the wonderful thing about Mochi is he actually does a lot of good things for a lot of people. Like Julianne mentioned, he's a therapeutic robot, which is of all the robots maybe the most like neutral good. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So though he's a little bit pricey, it seems that those who are able to access him, he does a lot of good for people who really need him and can get some love from him. And I love that they chose a seal. Mochi's a lot, I know. I love that they chose a seal because no one knows what a seal looks or feels like, so you can believe it a little bit more, which is a big
Right.
digression from the rest of what we're talking about today. But that works. It preys on our misunderstandings. What did you think,
Right.
Derek?
Right. It's Mochi is wonderful for the services that it is providing. My personal feelings about it, I am always interested in AI and robots, and for much more, say, humanoid robots, the attempts that have been made to try and cross the uncanny valley, because there's so many different nuances in human expression that robots and AI architecture cannot leap through or leap over at this time. Continued attempts, and there's always that one robot that does something really, really funny or unsettling. Recently, there have been, I think, within the last year, definitely some memes of another robot that is mostly being celebrated for its AI, its capability for conversation, but maybe not so much its physical appearance, as it's still a little bit jarring, even some of its facial expression. But Sarah, we come from a generation that had Tamagotchi and Furby and things like that. Did you ever have one?
I didn't. Those just missed my generation,
Mm.
but I did have. And if anyone out there, I will know how dated you are along with me. If anyone out there has had a speak and spell, does anyone know what this is? A speak and spell?
You can spell.
Anybody out there? You probably need to be over 35 to remember it, but it was a keyboard that you learned. Thank you, Faraway Gaming. Yes, they were terrifying, and it was like a robot or like a machine where you could type in like a word and it would say it back to you.
Did it have
And
a face at all?
nope,
Okay.
nope. I don't know. I just have a lot of bad memories of this and like apostrophe. It was so bad.
Looking
But
this
yeah,
up.
there was plenty of things to give you nightmares when you're a child. Doesn't matter when you're born. I think technology always gives it a nice flavor.
Oh yes, yes, I have seen this. I have. That was probably right when I was capable of spelling. So it was
Oh,
that.
Chuck E. Cheese. Yes. Why did we think of this?
Chuck E.
How
Cheese. Not to mention, there's so many branching topics about AI, and Chuck E. Cheese definitely fits within where we will be transitioning to in one more segment. But yeah, my generation was also not Furbies. It was my sister's generation, I think, that got Furbies, and so going to school for me was me and my friends telling horror stories about our siblings Furby that just would never go to sleep, and other people telling horror stories about taking out the batteries and the Furby still programmatically doing things in some sort of way. But yes, photography bonsai brings up an interesting point. Chuck E. Cheese holds a lot of terror for a lot of people, and there is a whole video game series that you can play derivative of this horrific experience for some of you out there, called
what is it?
Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's is a presents itself as a simple game. All you have to do for the first Five Nights at Freddy's is use your mouse. There's no other keyboard, game controller, or anything that you have to worry about. However, you're managing things like a doorway, things like a camera, and so on, because you are working the night shift at a Chuck E. Cheese equivalent location where the animatronics come to life when
No.
the place closes.
No.
So.
No.
Yes. Oh, and just recently announced, thankfully, while we were on this topic as well. So if you are into horror movies, if you're into the intersection of horror movies, Five Nights at Freddy's, Chuck E. Cheese, and Furbies, you'll be happy to know that February 12th there will be a new movie starring Nicolas Cage where he is basically playing in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. He takes on the role of a janitor at a Chuck E. Cheese equivalent location, and he has to do cleanup while the animatronics are coming to life and trying to kill him and a bunch of teenagers.
Teddy Ruxpin, yeah, photography bonsai. I feel you right now, and you feel me right now because you are naming all the horrifying things I couldn't recall just a minute ago. Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh, that was
man,
that was
Eric.
Techno Yogi that mentioned
Oh wait, what?
Teddy Ruxpin. Photography Bonsai said, I'll admit Chuck E. Cheese animatronics were a bit creepy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Teddy Ruxpin, Techno Yogi. Okay, I'm seeing you mentioned a few times. Yes. Techno Yogi and Photography Bonsai. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I had
Oh,
so many birthday
see that.
parties. I had so many birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese when I was a child because that's all you did. That was like the go-to. Everyone had their birthday parties there and you just had to endure it. Like having the birthday song sung to you wasn't enough. You had to be surrounded by these robots that move in such a really unnatural way.
Yep.
But I do also recall one year at one of those birthdays, my close friend's hair caught on fire because of the mall bangs and the hairspray when she's blowing out her candles.
Oh,
So there's just lots of things happening in
yes.
those. And Derek, do you know what a Teddy Ruxpin is?
I'm gonna Google it. I think I do have an image in mind. There are certain things that are, I feel as though an older cousin or somebody might have. Yes. Oh, yes. I very much know about this. I mixed this bear up with the Charmin bear multiple times in my head because not Charmin. Is it Charmin?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I think wait.
The detergent. They used to have a mascot that basically looked like a the Teddy Ruxpin bear. It was weird. The only times that I thought this whole brand is represented by an animatronic bear, which I thought was really interesting. My experience at Chuck E. Cheese was also a bit of the same. I never personally had a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, never wanted one, but I definitely had a lot of friends, cousins, family members who went there. I also want to thank Cheska, who has come in with a raid of from their channel, and so we now have some additional audience members who have joined from a friend of Tokyo House Party. I hope you enjoyed the show. But I remember I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by animatronics. I'm fascinated by puppetry, stop motion. They all fall within this weird file cabinet that I have in the back of my mind where I will be forever fascinated. So Chuck E. Cheese has never scared me, but
Derek, can you bring back puppetry later? Can we table it just for a minute because we need to talk about it again later. We need to bring this right back into this conversation.
Totally.
Hold it so close in a very terrifying way, and noting that Julianne, who is perhaps still in chat with us, is one of the biggest horror fans I know outside of Derek. We are right on brand for both of you, and I'm glad to be playing right into your hands. So maybe this is more comfortable for you. I found Mochi a little unsettling, but someone in chat did mention that the divergence between the Chuck E. Cheese or even Teddy, well, I guess Teddy Ruxpin could be a precursor to Mochi the Seal. But I also think it's kind of worth noting that like we've spoken of all these different technologies that were so new at one moment, and from all of our we can't be born too far apart from one another, not too far, but in all of these amounts of change in our births, so many things have happened, and change has really just escalated and is at like a fever pitch right now. So I think that's a really great example of how quickly things are moving right now.
Totally.
Someone knows Teddy Ruxpin, someone knows a Furby, someone knows a Mochi.
Or Freddy Fazbear, Five Nights at
I'll need to watch it, I guess, or play it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. Okay, so we're tabling that. I'm sticky noting it. What's coming up next for us? We are making quite the technological leap from the comfort of seals to the comfort of our tushies.
Yes, and I think that we're saying right now, so far we've been kind of talking about, do we like it, do we not like it? We're not sure, and we can stand right in the middle of like, it has its pros and cons, but we're going to move over to a technology and something that comes distinctly from Japan that is undeniably amazing. No one out there, I feel like, has tried this and been like, nah, they're awesome. And I feel like this is like the stuff that wins everyone's hearts. Anyone have any guess what that is? What technology, when you're thinking about all the technologies that come from Japan, what really stands out for you?
Gonna give some time for chat to catch up and answer that. I'm really interested in what they might come up with. Also, I have so many other robot things to mention.
I know. Now that we're talking, we're like, ooh.
There's so much robot talk. We can't even tug the yarn ball of Gundams, or
We might be able to just a touch later.
Toire says Techno Yogi.
On the Shinkansen, yeah, we.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
We
That's
don't
a good
have
one.
anybody from the bullet train to talk to. That would be cool though.
I did make that segue and said Tushies, so.
You did, and really, Amtrak cannot compare to the Shinkansen. They're like not even, yeah. But yes, toilets, yes. If anyone's ever been to Japan or has any inclination of things you'd want to experience when you go to Japan, I feel like these are top. This is like a top line thing. I don't really know how much we should talk or not talk about it.
Maybe our video segment with this pre-recorded guest is none other than Toto, and I think following a bit of an intro as well as a secondary video to talk specifically about one of their newest toilet models that have come out, we can come back around and supplement that with chatting with you all at home to the best of our ability. Obviously, we can't answer any tech questions for Toto specifically, but we hope that you can follow up and check out their site, as well as check out some of the recent updates that they made at the aforementioned CES 2021, which is the big tech expo that we talked about earlier.
I also want to mention that sadly, we are in no way sponsors of Toto, though we would be if they wanted us to be, because we think they're great and we would all love one.
Send me something from my bum.
Onegaishimasu.
Hi, kudasai. Yes. All right. Are we ready?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Like I said, there will be a short intro followed by another video from Toto. So stay tuned.
Good evening, Tokyo House Party. My name is Mike Harrigan, and I am Director of Sales in the Midwest for TOTO USA. I've been with TOTO 20 years. I'm born and raised in Chicago, and I work out of our downtown Chicago gallery on Wells Street near the Merchandise Mart. I just wanted to say Happy New Year and thanks to everyone for including us in this month's edition of Tokyo House Party. We are proud to be a part of it. Shortly, you're going to hear from our President of Corporate Strategy and E-Commerce, Bill Strang. Bill will talk about washlets and the NeoRest product and Toto technology and performance and luxury in general. So I hope you enjoy that. If you ever have any questions regarding any Toto products, but most exciting to me would be the washlets and the NeoRest and how those types of products change your life. If you ever have any questions on any of that, please let us know. There's a number of Toto folks throughout the Chicagoland area, as well as Haley Gervis, who works out of our gallery downtown. So, with that said, enjoy the evening. Happy New Year. Stay safe and be well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Bill Strang, and I'm President of Corporate Strategy, E-Commerce, and Customer Experience for TOTO. TOTO USA is excited to be launching into the Consumer Electronics Show for 2021, a range of products that are going to bring new solutions to our customers. One of the things that's most exciting for us to introduce is we're bringing our e-water into our new C2, C5 products that we're launching in January of 21. The C2, C5 are our products that have all the features that you have in a bidet. And by the way, if you haven't test driven a wash it bidet toilet seat, they're absolutely spectacular. You have a heated seat. You have the opportunity to press a button when you're finished on the toilet. You can actually rinse off in the back for the boys and girls, and rinse in the front for the girls with a separate spray. What's most exciting about this C2, C5 launch is we're bringing in the e-water plus technology that we have for TOTO products on some of our other offerings. The C2, C5 will now have e-water plus in the wand rinse. So when the wand extends and when it retracts, it'll be rinsed and cleaned with a C2, C5 eWater Plus experience. Now, eWater Plus is electrolyzed water that we create in the washlet every time you use it, and it's an opportunity to have a more hygienic and clean experience every time you visit the toilet. We also have the opportunity to introduce our Washlet Plus with the C2, C5, and a range of other washlets. And that Washlet Plus technology is now incorporating all the features of our washlet bidet toilet seats fitted onto a washlet adapted toilet. Now, the toilet is made uniquely to accept that washlet, which means that the hose for the water line and the power line are embedded into a hole on the backside of the toilet that are hidden from view. It gives a great aesthetic and incorporates all of our technologies in our toilets to make sure that we have clean synergy as the overall essence of our product offering. Now, this clean synergy is about making sure we bring all the clean technologies together. And that means we've got not only eWater Plus, but also the washlet has a pre-mist. When you come to sit on the toilet, you open the lid up, it'll pre-mist into the bowl, making the surface that is dry on the bowl wet, improves lubricity, and improves the opportunity to actually have a clean flush every time. We then have a tornado flush that is spinning around that bowl that gets you clean as well. And we have the eWater cleaning the wand, and in some of our models, we also have the eWater cleaning the bowl as well. As we enter into the next offering that we have, it's our wellness toilet. Now, wellness toilet is a really fantastic concept. It's a concept of bringing sensors and technology into a toilet that will be able to actually measure your biometrics every time you use the toilet. Of course, this is going to be wonderful because it's non-intrusive, it's non-invasive. You don't have to understand that it's actually doing any of that measurement for you, but it's measuring your biometrics. It's also measuring your outputs when you sit on the toilet, and all of those metrics and measurements are going to be quantified and put on a trend line to allow you to track and monitor your overall wellness. TOTO will even offer some suggestions on how you can improve your wellness by looking at either nutrition levels or hydration levels, and maybe even different behavior characteristics that you have in your daily life. The key here is TOTO understands the challenges that COVID and our world brings to us every day. We believe the bathroom is a place that you can go and must, when you go, have trust in what you're getting and experiencing when you have an experience on a toilet. We believe the wellness toilet is going to be the new benchmark for where people can go in the future and what we can do to help you live a life well lived. So have a great day. We enjoyed talking to you about 2021 CES, and have a wonderful spring. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Alrighty. So toilets. That was these. Okay. I had to take a moment to. There was a lot of thoughts that I had to converge when we came back, because the video is a little bit shorter than what our usual videos are. So I was caught a bit off guard. That's what you saw real time. Anyways, the TOTO toilets are amazing, and if you ever have an opportunity to experience one in Japan, or if you have, it leaves a resting experience with you that just changes every toilet that you return to after that moment. The products that are discussed in this video, and I think first of all, thank you to TOTO for carving a moment out of your day to chat with us and sending us the video so that we can present it to our audience here. And we hope that you'll follow up and that we can have you on the show sometime in the near future. But to those of you at home, if you haven't seen some of these products before, I highly encourage checking out the link that we posted in chat and seeing some of them for yourself. They come with a wide array of features. Most of you might be accustomed to heated seat, the built-in bidet feature of some of these washlets, as well as other really great conveniences that you don't realize you needed until you had them, like one of them, you sat on it and then it made a water trickling sound in the background to just create filler noise for the bathroom, all sorts of stuff. Walking up to your toilet and the toilet seat automatically raising or lowering as needed. Phenomenal.
Also very eco-friendly. I feel like they I don't know that he really touched on that, but I don't know how to we're gonna free talk right now. Yeah. So in Japan, it's often the toilet paper isn't provided for you. You have to like keep that kind of stuff on you. But that's also because these toilets really reduce that entirely. Um, the one thing I will say is what I find a little unsettling is about the public ones is like if you go to a toilet and it's already warm, I know it's supposed to be a luxury, but I find that a little it always rubbed me the wrong way. But the sounds, like every time someone walks into a public restroom, they just start making those sounds, and so no one has to feel uncomfortable. It's really nice. It's very nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so if you didn't know already, you can buy Toto toilets in the US. The site that was linked, as well as if you're a Chicago local, you can see them in person. They look like toilets out of the future. And that's why we brought this segment onto the show, because they're very, very modern, very cool pieces of tech and utility. Hearing this new washlet that was discussed in the video and how it measures your biometrics is insane.
Yeah.
And also, I am going to praise any toilet company for coming up with a nomenclature that perfectly dodges you around ever having to say the word poop. So that is wonderful. Kudos to Toto. Kudos to anybody who has to do that. You are not only creating a magical product, but wordsmithing the heck out of that.
Yeah, that was magical in every way. And also to say that truly, if you go to Japan, this is one of the things I really think does stick with you, which it seems so funny, but it's true. Like everyone that has been to Japan will comment on the toilets there. And now that we don't know when the next time Japan will be in our future, if you have a little extra to throw around, I feel like this would be such a cool investment for your house. Just saying.
I would absolutely encourage the washlets are probably the most low barrier to entry as far as the Toto toilets are concerned, because those are things that you can fit onto existing toilets, and they come in a range of sizes for that convenience. If you're looking to remodel your home, go for the cool ones. There's some that mount into the walls and all sorts of stuff.
Yes. And okay. I'm going to leave it there. Other than if you've been to one, you'll know. And when you do find one, you'll be like, oh, yeah. So I know exactly what they're saying now. Does anyone have any thoughts about their experiences with toilets in Japan? Have you been to the Toto Gallery here in Chicago? They sent us some images and it looks so beautiful in there, like a legitimate gallery. It's so lovely. So yeah, I wondered, I know that some in chat were curious to know they could even find that here in the United States, but I wonder if anyone has any experience of finding them in the United States.
I personally have not been nor knew that there was a Toto Gallery here in Chicago, so I wish that was something that I got to take advantage of in the before times, but I am glad to know it now.
All right. Well, I don't know if everyone is as dazzled with toilets as we are, Derek, but in time, I trust.
Yes, absolutely. It's something to be experienced. You have to, if you don't know, if you know, kind of moment. Yeah, Techno Yogi says, life changing. I cry knowing I rent my apartment and I can't get one. Similar, same.
Same. Yeah. And I feel like this is the third time I've heard someone say, conjoin the words life changing and Toto toilets. Like, I think, is it Cheska Online? Cheska Online, Techno Yogi, and the gentleman who was just speaking to us, they all use the words life-changing, and that's pretty air dryer features. I don't even know what to say to that.
That is a part of it. Yep. Yeah, once you use one, it's hard to go back to standard toilets. The same.
Well, I feel like we have someone else to welcome on right now so we can pivot conversations, but maybe they have some other thoughts about these as well, which we welcome. We actually have the luxury, Van, if you're out there, please come join us. We have the luxury of having Van, who normally doesn't get to chat with us, join a chat with us. So this is going to be really cool and totally unexpected until about 2 hours ago. So we will have Van, who's here. It worked. I'm so dazzled.
Yes.
But while we wait for Van to connect, this is a preemptive conversation before we stream Ghost in the Shell. And this is just a way of, we're all going to watch this movie together until Van actually then takes us home later. But just some thoughts. If maybe this is a movie, it's such a classic. We've seen it so many times because it's so good. But maybe just think about a few things that maybe you hadn't considered before, and a few perspectives that might make it feel a little new to you and give you some things to look for or to question for yourself as you watch them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll wait a minute.
Van,
Derek,
do we have
do you
you?
have any thoughts?
Not yet. I have some things that I'm saving, but
Okay.
we'll see. Checking in to see if Van, if we have you on audio. Are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you guys?
Hello. How's it going?
Oh,
Good, good. Good to be here. Good to hear your voices and see you guys.
Absolutely. There's a some sort of snap camera thing that we're both seeing. Is this intentional?
Oh, I think so. Hold on.
the O tells me that's a no.
Just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Ew. It might be some sort of a glitch thing. I'll work it out as we're talking.
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, normally, we've been so. Oh, there's a spam person in here.
Good old bots gonna
What
get the ban
happened?
hammer.
Speaking of bots, but yeah, normally we don't get the luxury of talking to Van, and this is a topic that we all love, and so we are here today to talk about Ghost in the Shell, but more specifically thinking about everything from an android to a cyborg to a robot. What are the differences? What are we really talking about in this movie, and kind of what's at stake, I guess. And so the film Ghost in the Shell is, of course, based on a manga that predates it. But in Japanese, Kokaku Kidotai is the name of Ghost in the Shell. And the Japanese that's used in this film and in some of the names of the characters is actually really important. And we will circle around to that, but I want to make sure we'll just put it in already. So today we're talking about a genre called cyberpunk. But before that, there is a precursor that I think is kind of fun to throw in because I think it's something everyone's so familiar with, and it really does inform these kinds of trajectories of different subcultures and subgenres, which is mecha. Does anyone out there know what mecha is? And I feel like we'll spend a little bit of time just getting like a group definition of things, because what's interesting is that there is no one real answer. It's just like, even if you were to which I find is interesting, you can actually Google these and find like a Merriam-Webster definition.
Oh wow.
But that isn't necessarily like the truth. It's just like this many number of people agree on this definition, so we can have our own too, right?
Certainly.
Derek,
Well,
what's mecha for you? Yeah.
Mecha is probably captured as it was introduced to me thanks to Toonami. So that captures certainly giant robots and robots in general. Things like Astro Boy, Gundam, Big O. I think those all fall into mecha for me.
Yeah, and we in the chat, we have some cool definitions that are totally totally syncing up.
Big battle robots, big bad battle robots. Love it.
Yeah, and I think that's like really, you all are touching on some of the things I was hoping to bring up about mecha, the very masculine nature of mecha, right? Lots of aggression, lots of musculature, lots of like armor. And we have big robots piloted by humans, and both the two people saying that there's humans piloting them. And yeah, and I think that's a really important distinction when we're talking about the precursors and a different genre from, say, what's happening in Ghost in the Shell. So we have humans on the outside piloting these robots. We have things like Astro Boy, maybe where we saw that for the first time. And then Iron Man, the comic book, which is from the same time period around-ish, which was really interesting. What else? We have another, mecha is such an interesting genre because it deals with body modification and dysphoria also. Yeah, that's really interesting because I think a lot of what we're talking about is how these things kind of reflect some identities. And
yeah, and Jessica can say by mecha being an extension of the pilot and very humanoid. These are all really good topics that I want to have a whole episode about mecha as we proceed into more future topics, because there's so many different things that have been mentioned already that deserve space and conversation. Sarah, you mentioned the masculinity that is within mecha, and that to me was something that when we were talking earlier really, really stood out. because I that was, yeah, it is 100%. And so when thinking about that now, how where would one make mecha, say, not so gendered? How does that start? Where what happens? What does a not so masculine mecha look like?
I almost would say that it has to do with how we're talking about all these technologies that we're all familiar with, really have to do with the culture that created them, right?
Mhm.
Like that space and time. And I think with mecha, which was so popular at a specific time period. And Van, if you can hear us or you want to chime in, I am here for your thoughts. Mecha, really, I think of like Transformers and all this stuff too, like around that same period of time. So maybe that's what people really wanted and were more identifying with at that time. That was the ideal, right? But as we're moving into Ghost in the Shell and we're changing topics a little bit into the cyberpunk category, let's also define cyberpunk for everyone. What do we all think? What do we all want to say cyberpunk is?
Mm.
That's a really good question. For me, I think it started with Blade Runner. I think that is the quintessential cyberpunk aesthetic. And from that, you get Ghost in the Shell, and after that, Matrix, and there's a lot of crossover between all of these kinds of styles of dystopian, futuristic technology, kind of like globalization gone crazy to the point where people were kind of like enslaved, and cyberpunk is kind of like the answer to kind of like corporate like tentacles reaching into every aspect of society. And cyberpunk is kind of like the resistance. To me, Ghost in the Shell is quintessential cyberpunk also.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love, Van, that you just compared Blade Runner to Ghost in the Shell because I want to do it so badly and I wasn't going to find the bridge on my own, but you've done it.
Hmm.
But I think what's so cool is that I think if we want to, we could even like compare and contrast Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner throughout this conversation, honestly, because they both fall in the genre, but they couldn't be more different in some really important ways. But I think that's a great working definition, and Cheska has one too. Cyberpunk is such a complicated genre, kind of futuristic and focuses on urban development and overwhelming amounts of technology.
Hmm.
Yeah, the one I found from Merriam-Webster, truly it's in Merriam-Webster, is science fiction dealing with the future, with future urban societies dominated by computer technology. But it can also be, which I thought was funny, an opportunistic computer hacker.
Huh. Okay.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which
okay.
coincidentally, Hackers came out the same year-ish as Ghost in the Shell. Just throwing it out there.
Interesting. Yeah, and then how they
Nice.
both touching on themes of hacking and how that affects the spaces that they're tangent to. If you were to see one film and then the other, very very different effects.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Photography
think
Banzai says ideas on how huge dense cities evolve from a technology standpoint sounds about right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, I think, has everyone in chat seen Ghost in the Shell before? I'm gonna make some leaping assumption that a lot of people have, but maybe not everyone has, because if you haven't, we might touch on some spoilers, but okay, cool. So this might be your like soft warning, like these might be spoilers, but it's also might help you if you haven't seen this film before, come from a place to understand it in a unique way too.
Mhm.
So could be cool. Um, so we're thinking about, especially in Ghost in the Shell, ideas about kind of transcending this categorization of humanity, which is something that's really second nature to us. And I think that's really important as like a overarching theme of this. But what we really wanted to talk about today, because there's so many things you can talk about in Ghost in the Shell. It's such a philosophical movie with a lot of different perspectives to take. But in thinking about mecha and our conversation about masculinity, thinking about how gender is represented or not represented throughout this movie, and how it's kind of important in thinking about it, in my humble opinion, anyway. And I want to do as I always do because I think it's so important. Anyone guess what I'm going to do?
Can you reference a book?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to share my
Yes.
sources. This is the book, friends.
Yes.
This is a really great book if you want to think about some heavy hitting anime in a different way. Yes, this went through one of my floods. Yes, I've had this for about 15 years since undergraduate. Don't judge me.
Best kind of book to
But
have.
I know, look at how sad it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this book is called Anime From Akira to Howl's Moving Castle by Susan Napier. This is a great book to break down some concepts in anime, including gender and identity, which is what we're talking about today. So, references made. Let's. Oh yeah, and look, some people even know it in chat. I'm so glad. Yeah, I really would have loved to have her in chat, but she's a very elusive lady. You know, does anyone else know who Donna Haraway is?
I don't.
Oh, I cold emailed Donna Haraway because if we could have somehow got her to come on, it would have been amazing. She is like the cyborg scholar
Okay.
from a feminist viewpoint.
Yes.
Ooh, she's like a rock star. Anyway. So yeah, we're thinking about possibilities of transcending individual identity, which there it is, Van. Look at Van.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
I had to be told that, Van, can you tell everyone what this is from?
It is the it's kind of like the logo for the hacker from the Ghost in the Shell. I believe it's from the Standalone Complex series that came after the movie in the 2000s. So yeah, it's not part of the original movie, but the series Standalone Complex, it's worth watching because it's so good, and it really expands on the universe, and I recommend it to anyone. Like, that's some of my favorite philosophical and moral kinds of issues that are brought up with the Standalone Complex. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go out there and get it or watch it or whatever you can.
I love how you progressively started animating and background appeared in. Also, the Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex series soundtrack features a lot of work from Yoko Kanno, and so it's
one of my favorite composers.
Really, really good soundtrack. But sorry, we were discussing cyborgs and mechs from the feminist view, as well as conversations about gender. Oh my gosh, this is doing so many things.
It's getting real.
This is lovely. Oh yes, this is so great. Sarah, please, you were discussing the book and then talking about Susan Napier, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move forward. I'm just dazzled, so I'm trying not to be overwhelmed by technology myself right now. But everyone knows we're talking about the 1995 animated Ghost in the Shell, which is based on a manga, right? So this is the specific film we're talking about. And if you bring in some thoughts about these other continuations of that series, it might be a little more confusing. So for the sake of our conversation, to make things a little more confined, that's pretty much all I'll be referencing. But please do feel free to make any connections, of course. But I'm thinking about the plot of this film altogether. Did Derek or Van, can you remind everyone what is Ghost in the Shell about?
Yeah. So Ghost in the Shell, don't quote me on the year, but it's definitely a far future environment where their city, hold on, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking back, but because I also just watched it not too long ago. They are dealing with an ongoing, say, do they go as far as to recognize the individual as a terrorist, like a cyber terrorist attack, essentially?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Yeah, and they are in the middle. You're stepping into the movie as they are in the middle of this pursuit and trying to name the individual that is responsible for all of these situations. But what unfolds is the main character, Major Kusanagi, their own exploration in gender identity, what that means for them, what it means to have a shell, which is what the nomenclature in the movie for some of these cybernetic individuals, and their body, their outside, skin and bone, essentially, and then the ghost, the brain that embodies it, and what that means for them, what it means to have an identity, what it means to have a personality, and grow, live, or die. So all those things get tackled in very amazing, very explorative ways, and there's some personal quotes from this film that I'll as the conversation moves, I can touch back on those, but yeah.
I think that's perfect. And do you remember? Okay, well, actually, let's back it up. in thinking about a ghost in a shell, you define ghost as a brain, right? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Van, do you have any other thoughts about what a ghost is?
A lot of the references I thought were to where the ghost is the soul in a way, the soul of a person that activates, the human body, the consciousness of, powers everything. And I think, certain parts of the movie allude to that, and
Hmm.
it is for the most part is a brain, the cyber brain that they kind of like move back and forth, and like this portable kind of device that you put the ghost into. So I don't know. There's certain parts of it that make me feel like they're talking about the soul as in a way. It's like kind of like a like an etheric material that kind of just powers biological electronics and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's a really interesting concept, and there's not enough written material about it. But I hope that one day we get to that point where we could have uh,
Hmm.
ghosts and cyber brains and things like that, because it looks like we're headed that way anyway.
Well, one of the things that I found most interesting, and not to try and give away too much of the plot of the film by
It's
what I'm
okay.
about to say, but the sort of antagonist of the film challenges what it means to have humanity and challenges what it means for Kusanagi, who is trying to explore what if they have humanity already. And there are a lot of interesting points brought up by both the main character Major Kusanagi and the AI Project 2501, I believe is what they were called. But
Do you remember
essentially,
the other name?
um,
Like the I guess what starts off as like the villain, right?
yeah, what
Hmm.
was their
Puppet Master.
Puppet Master?
Puppet
Yes,
Master. Yeah.
right, right. How did I forget that?
This is why I was
eh,
like, let's put a pin in that puppet
yeah.
talk.
Anyways, um, yeah, Kusanagi is there's a really great scene between Kusanagi and their partner where she at this point in the film is discussing that they have been given memories, experiences. They believe that this is what, or they're questioning if this is what makes up them as an individual, their humanity, and then that is also challenged with the antagonist Puppet Master or Project 2501 having a direct conversation with Kusanagi, who originated as an AI that gained sentience, and they said, "Well, I gained my sentience through the data collection of all these different memories and personalities and things that were gathered in my AI development, and so therefore challenging whether or not they are entitled to humanity, and essentially wanting to therefore take the final step within being able to have humanity and concrete make concrete their vision in gaining that by having the experiences of living and dying is what they were seeking out. And so that most of all was really interesting that this AI conscious after it asks it asks the a lot of questions. One of the questions that was rested with me is if humans are always going to be the ones that create AI, does that create an inevitability of certain outcomes, similar to the puppet master wanting to gain humanity? Another topic that it can be expanded on later, but there's a really great book called Race After Technology, which talks about algorithmic um, racial profiling that can find its way into technology unwillingly, based on it being created by humans. And so these are all things that I was left with after watching Ghost in the Shell again.
I love this. I wasn't really sure how we'd have this conversation because there's so many things to be said. And I think what's so cool is that there's lots of what I think is actually important to note is that what Derek is saying, what I'm going to say, what Van will say, these are all our perspectives and no one's right or wrong in this. And that's what makes this so wonderful,
Yes.
right? Like we all just have our own thoughts and are expressing them. And, my viewpoints, which are, maybe you share them, maybe you don't. That's all completely valid. So I love hearing that that's what you were thinking about and watching this too, Derek. And I think for everybody, before we watch Ghost in the Shell, I think, thinking about what a shell is, what is a ghost, what do they exactly mean when they say that is kind of important. Along with, I made a little note for myself here. So an android is a robot. and which is made to look and act like a human. Whereas on the other hand, a cyborg is a human being with some robotic parts placed inside of the body naturally. And an android is not a living organism, whereas a cyborg is a living organism. And I think we find both in Blade Runner and in Ghost in the Shell that these are slippery slopes too. It's not always true like that. But I think the point being is that, especially in Ghost in the Shell, we're thinking about people being augmented, like giving all these special extra things. And thinking about, I guess, what it means to be a person. And I actually come from a different perspective, that I don't think that Kusanagi or the Puppet Master want to be people at all. I think that they're interested in something a little bit different altogether. But what I wanted to touch back on is Derek mentioned earlier his interest in puppetry and how this kind of relates to some of this robotic conversation we're having. But the name of the Puppet Master in the Japanese film is Ningyo Zukai. Ningyo means puppets, right? So it's actually and in Japanese that can mean anything from a doll to a puppet, a lot of different things. So what we're talking about, he's almost like the master of the shell in some ways, if you want to look at it that way. And we say, and I just I just gendered him male because of the voice. But the puppet master throughout this film is in a female body, not so similar to Kusanagi's, right? But blonde. But has a male voice. And so it's all these juxtapositions that make this film so interesting to me. But what I think is interesting too about the shell component is that, yeah, so Kusanagi and the Puppet Master are given the creators gave them these female bodies that are decidedly female. I mean, they're naked a lot, which I think says something too. But they're also not, like, when you think about like anime hyper sexualization of women, not quite like that either. I'm sure we can all picture, some anime like that right now where women are as they sometimes are in anime. How about that?
Totally.
So it's not quite like that either. They're a little more androgynous in this way. And so, I would say that Kusanagi doesn't necessarily date anybody throughout this film or show any sexual interest in anyone, so much as making a joke about being a woman at some point in the beginning, where I think Bato says something like, your brain's busy today, and they respond back, oh, it must be my time of the month, which we all know that Kusanagi doesn't have doesn't menstruate, they're a cyborg. So it's like some jab at being a woman or not. But yeah, thank you so much for these images, Derek. This is the Ningyo Zukai, the puppet master, right? And this is Kusanagi. And their faces are so similar. I love this image, by the way. I just pulled it up because I think it's so striking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think what's interesting here is what we're talking about, these shells and how they just happen to be shells and nothing more in some ways, especially in the terms of these cyborgs. And I think what's kind of compelling, oh yeah, I'll get to that one. But I think what's interesting is there's a part, and I couldn't find an image to share with you all, but if we get to it when we start to watch the film, where Kusanagi is kind of gazing down a river. They're in a boat down a canal, and they're looking at all these people looking kind of isolated and lonely themselves, and even see themselves in the crowd somewhere. And I think, and my interpretation of that is that it seems like they acknowledge that humans are inherently lonely and less connected than they maybe thought they were anyway. And so my thoughts, which I think are very much influenced by the book that I mentioned, is that Kusanagi is searching for spiritual connection and some other kind of connection, and actually binding themselves with a greater something, rather than being so individual, which is a very human thing to do, rather than saying, adhering to some categories of what it means to be a woman or a man or some kind of something, really looking for this self-satisfying autonomy, which is what Donna Haraway calls it as a cyborg, is like, that's kind of what defines a cyborg for Donna Haraway, is self-satisfied autonomy. So you just do things based for yourself, right? But I think it's still just worth noting that I guess the shell and the ghost within it, Kusanagi's not sure if they have a ghost, but moreover, like, if they do have one, how can they transcend what they're doing now? Not necessarily become more human. And I think that's a big departure from Blade Runner, which is that replicants are really hoping to be human. They want that. where I think that's a big divergence in Ghost in the Shell. They are
Mhm.
not really interested in being human at all. They kind of recognize, their own makeup, I guess, in that way. But if you have that image, I think I titled it. It's one where the puppet master and Kusanagi are in the same frame.
Yep. Um,
That when they like merge. Oops, I kind of gave it away.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, because I think this is it. And this is what I think is this particular scene is so interesting because we have, two basically like mannequins that look identical except for some different wigs, right? And Batou still wants to look at Kusanagi as a woman and covers them up, like, whereas the puppet master doesn't get such human kind of care.
mhm.
But they're in this space, and I included another image of the space that they're in, but where it's supposed to talk about humans connecting over time. And I think there's a lot of challenging about how humans really are connected. And, the puppet master and Kusanagi are all talking about this place called the Net, which is where Kusanagi's born from. The opening scenes, you see like some code, and then Kusanagi being born from that code and taking the shape of a machine, and then, a person. And so what the puppet master is offering Kusanagi is this greater meaning and greater community that they can merge with, and that's exactly what they do. And then how can you watch this with us? Yes, we're going to stream it right into Twitch so long as you have your Amazon Prime account synced.
Mhm.
And Derek, if you can put back up that image of Kusanagi in the younger body.
Yeah.
I want to just wrap with this. I have other things I would love to say, but just to kind of give the arch of what I'm thinking here. I think it's really interesting that so Bateau, after that scene where they have that kind of marriage, and there's actually a lot of Shinto overtones in all of this movie, and in the music, and how that this is kind of crafted together in this way. This marriage of the puppet master and Kusanagi, he still really wants to save this Kusanagi as he envisions Kusanagi,
Mhm.
and chooses this other body to put them in. And it's a small girl, it's a child girl. And even in the film, we hear this child voice coming out of the body, slowly becoming the voice that we recognize as Kusanagi. But in the manga, this is what I think is so interesting. In the manga, it was actually a boy that Bato put Kusanagi into. And I
Okay.
think the choice that they wanted to make it a woman again in the film is just so interesting to me. Like
Mhm.
that was a decided choice to keep it in that gender. But the original author kind of seemed to be even more open to that fluidity in Kusanagi, which I
Yeah.
think is so interesting. But I'm gonna pause myself here and Van, Derek, please keep me from talking more.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead, Van.
I just wanted to add, if there's anyone who is really interested in these sorts of topics, there's a really good book called The Age of Spiritual Machines by Raymond Kurzweil. Raymond Kurzweil is a really famous futurist, and he's invented so many. I think he was the first person who invented like a phone camera. So he's like a really brilliant person, and a lot of his predictions have come true. And so he posits by the year of 2050, there's going to be something called a singularity, and I think the Ghost in the Shell series is around 2047 or so, so it's right around that time. So a lot of the book he talks about the nature of reality and how it's still up for debate whether reality itself, the one we live in, is a simulation. And so if that were true, then that means we are basically living in shells ourselves, and gender and all that is just a human-made constructs that are just kind of for purposes of categorization and things like that. So if anyone ever wanted to read more, yeah, read Raymond Kurzweil.
Mhm.
It looks
Totally.
like Derek just put that in chat.
I did.
Thank you.
Yeah. I am with the idea that gender, just like time, is a human construct. Used to help create parameters and definitions. That's my opinion. And with Ghost in the Shell, in relation to that opinion, I think if Ghost in the Shell, as it is, this original film came out in today's time, I think that because we've had so many conversations, centered around gender and people finding the words to help identify who they are, I think something like Ghost in the Shell would uh, I'm curious if the author, the mangaka, would be able to present a slightly different topic in relation to the time period. Ghost in the Shell is very much an answer if the time that it released, and gender then was very, very binary. And so, to be able to present things as to be able to still challenge those that nomenclature in that time period by showing Kusanagi and Kusanagi's voice coming out of a child, or the puppet master with this very mask appearing voice coming out of a very femme appearing robot. I think those types of things challenge those structures of that time. And if it came out in something like 2020, it would be amazing to see how it could even further that conversation and help people and help facilitate that conversation even more. But it does it still. It does it still. That's what I was going to say about that. I think there's a really, really wonderful scene that you'll see within the film that's one of my favorites, where Kusanagi is on the boat, like I touched on earlier, with their partner, and they are talking about who they are and their identity as it means to them. And I think we come back full circle to that when the puppet master is talking about their identity and what it means to them and why they're so interested in Kusanagi. I love these two conversations because I feel like they could have happened right next to each other in another circumstance.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, because again, we had began talking about this hypermasculinity in mecha, where there's an outside person piloting this shell, right? Or something that has no flint tongue. It's been a while since we've seen you in chat. Anyway, but yeah, and then to this kind of idea where they're merged together as one, or who knows if where one even came from, if it ever was human, it doesn't matter, right? So I think it's really interesting. And I think what I love about this film the most, especially in terms of identity and gender, is that rather than like looking to be a human or looking to be, any one thing, it's more like seeking a brand new identity that's never been before. So by merging with this puppet master character, Kusanagi is completely in this this new other realm that no one knows anything about, and that's kind of what they're seeking, but it's free there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the end goal is, which I think is so.
Ooh, yeah, I want to go to there.
Yeah, but I think that's, I guess, like why I thought this was such a cool conversation for today is one, especially with Killakuma and others, like we're already kind of exploring these things in some ways.
Yes.
And we're all at home right now having these, really meaningful conversations. I don't think that we would have had otherwise, without this net, without this space, right? Where we all come together. So I do think that, this conversation has a renewed kind of a space in the world we're all sharing right now. And I think it's cool to talk about together.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the other things that I wanted to bring up, the idea of Puppet Master and it kind of being an incarnation of its exposure to data, essentially, and its interaction with data, I think we will end up with something similar one day. And that the version of that will be both like and unlike what we've seen in Ghost in the Shell, where there will be an AI. We have things like algorithms and stuff that programmatically provide us with ads and things like that on something like social media. That's one small example. Also, thank you for the subscription. And I think we will see other iterations of this one day where AI, which already does some of this, as we've seen examples of, is rapidly gathering information in order to give, say, somebody the correct language to speak in, the correct words or mannerisms, but will one day be able to gather information and kind of concatenate all that together to become self-aware, essentially. When Puppet Master talks about the moment that they became self-aware and then decided what they were going to do after becoming self-conscious. I think we'll see that, and I think the version of it will be interesting, and it will make parallels, and we'll have something wildly different. Just like anytime people go, yeah, we live in Black Mirror right now, and you go, wait, what? You're like, yes. And Techno Yogi, thank you for the subscription there. But those are, I think, all the things that I wanted to raise up. I most of all enjoy that Ghost in the Shell asks questions instead of proposing answers to things. There are a lot of questions that are left for the viewer to think about, and it's not, the author isn't making it their job to define those things for you. I love the ambiguity of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, Derek. I feel like this is such a fun conversation. I'm so glad that everyone's down for it. And I think one of the things that always strikes me when I see it is Kusanagi's like just unflinching nudity throughout the whole film, you
Mhm.
know? They just couldn't care less at all. Well, everyone else around them is clearly so uncomfortable with it, you
Right,
know?
right.
Which I really love. There's like what, and Bateau covers them with a jacket, both in the boat scene, both at the end, just like, oh, cover yourself, and they're like, whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's not that it's another expression of, it's another example of showing the dichotomy of you say human and cyborg, uh what they take into regard as, important or anxious or whatever. And I enjoy that. I enjoy, it's amazing that you because you have caught so many different subtleties from Kusanagi and the reaction of the male people around her throughout the movie. And I think that that's really important to take note of, because it's easily missed if you don't eye out open. Especially
Yeah, if you don't know, you have to be embarrassed of yourself. You know what I mean? I think that's kind
Yeah.
of what it comes down to, is if you don't, you aren't programmed to be embarrassed of a naked body because it doesn't
Right.
have to be sexual, I think it's so interesting. I really do.
There's a couple parallels to Silence of the Lambs. Jodie Foster's role in that movie and the way the male characters kind of react and are in the background, and how kind of everything relates to her being a female detective. That in itself, it draws a little bit of a parallel to The Major. And that's another movie that I recommend. Hopefully we could do some about that one too. But yeah, that background information that kind of is subtle, and only if you pay attention, you grab it. I really love that. And that ambiguous nature, that's such a Japanese kind of thing. And I really love the subtlety in the entire IP of Ghost in the Shell. There's all sorts of little nuances that you really have to pay attention to
Mhm.
like to get. And I love that about the series.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is even if you've seen it before, and even if you've never seen it, what we're saying may or may not even land. There's just, you just can watch it so many times and get different things from it. It's a great film. And
Oh yeah.
I do want to note, just as a bit of a spoiler for everyone, and while we have Van with us, we will be having a lot more conversation on similar topics to this moving forward in the next few months on Tokyo House Party. We actually will have an episode coming up where we'll be talking to different people from the performing arts communities in Japan that understand and define gender through their
Yes.
performances. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. And also, the very next Tokyo House Party will be all about Van, and we will be talking a lot about. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's a bit of a show.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very exciting. There isn't time for it today, since we are going to be jumping into the movie. One of the things that was mentioned in Cyberpunk that I would love to kind of loft out to the audience is something to think about, maybe for a future conversation. But one of the things that gets brought up so we mentioned earlier that Ghost in the Shell, obviously, it's the time period that it was created in is a reaction to the that time period. Oftentimes when we are, as creators, we are responding to our environments. Blade Runner is also a reaction to its environments, and during that time period, there's a really great article that touches on this as well. But Blade Runner's rendition of cyberpunk future has kind of become ingrained in other people's image when they think of what a dystopian landscape looks like. And I think along with that has become there are a few different things that have become a little bit muddled, but not exactly answered by some other iterations of this. And so what I'm getting at is, when you're throughout Blade Runner, you have a lot of Asian language. You have Chinese language. In the newest one, you had a lot of Japanese language, geisha, and all sorts of kanji and things like that are all about. However, there is a strong lacking of Asian actors throughout the film. There aren't any, I think, as little as 1 to 2 maybe Japanese or Chinese speaking roles in either of these films. And what that question raises is cyberpunk can mistakenly come with this fetishization of Asian culture and what that means for what a globalization of consumerism means for our future, and what you're saying by putting those types of things in your environment, that there's these tall sprawling buildings, full of kanji or full of Japanese or Chinese, just like, scaling all the way up, and that people like Deckard are living in these ghettos with all white people. So there's so many different conversations to kind of tug on that. That's all I wanted to kind of present, in hopes that you yourself will take an opportunity to think about it, to have conversations about it with your peers, and maybe explore some of the conversations online that have been had about it. Cyberpunk 2077 is not immune to this either. However, there is a little bit more representation. I'll say that.
Oh man, we should just have, you know what? We maybe also, I'm going to put this out there. If you all want us to have an episode on something, we're listening. You could just shout it out here. You want us to do 5 more episodes on Cyberpunk? We're here for it, Do you want to do more anime chats? We can do that too. So yeah, just chime in here. But all that being said, I know that Van needs to get ready for his set, and we need to make sure we can chat about Ghost in the Shell with you in real time. But Van, I wanted to make sure, did you have any other thoughts about Ghost in the Shell? We're just so grateful to have you with us and, get your thoughts on this, because normally we just miss you to the very end. So it's so cool to have you. Is there anything else you wanted to add to this cool conversation?
No, I just wanted to say that it's amazing talking to you guys, and both of you are just so insightful. It's really inspiring, and you grasp the essence of the film, and not that many people appreciate the film, not that many people even know about the film. You ask any, like, random Gen Z or even millennials, you ask them, have you ever seen Ghost in the Shell? And they're like, no, I don't even know what that is. And it's heresy, because there's very few other films and written material that combine philosophy, morality, technology, gender, identity, all these things in one. And it's executed so well, so poignant. It has a factor of kind of like transcendentalism. It's a beautiful film, and it's one of my all-time favorites, and I highly recommend it to everyone. I'm so happy to have been able to participate in this chat, and I hope we do another episode on Cyberpunk, because there's just so much to be said, and it is still a growing phenomenon today. It's something that we're still seeing in popular culture. We just had that Cyberpunk game that just came out, so this is a theme that's reoccurring. It's not going away anytime soon. So hopefully in the future we could do a part 2 if people want to have that sort of thing.
I think we'll have to have one. There's, as you said, so much content to tug on.
And Satoshi Kon was brought up in the chat, which I think, their films there's so much to say about their films too.
Yeah.
That'd be such a cool one as well.
Ergo Proxy is another anime series that really, it's another one that's specifically speaking about AI and humanity. Again, perceptions of that, and there's a lot of religious context in there as well.
It's amazing, and I feel like also Flint Tongue, for all those who subscribed in the last hour or two, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. And you chatting with us is like, what we're here for. So thank you so much for being active in the chat. Thanks for talking with us. Yeah, I hadn't heard Ergo Proxy in a while either. So when you said that, Derek, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's got the closing theme from Radiohead, Paranoid Android.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Ooh, do you remember Aeon Flux? Like, not the movie, but
the MTV skits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm digressing hard here, you guys.
There's so many. Somebody, I was talking about it to you. I was telling it on somebody. It came up in my timeline, but somebody brought up the show Cyber 6, which I hadn't heard this name in years, let alone seen a picture of it. But it looks like Major Kusanagi crossed with Carmen Sandiego for a series that also talks about AI and gender. It's a really interesting show that I haven't revisited yet, but I know it's on Amazon Prime for anybody's watching pleasure.
And just a reminder out there, Derek, if you didn't catch the beginning of the stream and you weren't here with us, Derek made some amazing emotes for all of you who subscribe to use. So be sure to subscribe and get those so you can have our three-legged crow Yatagrasu to cheer us on. Yeah. So that's brand new. And we will probably, after we depart here, we'll just let you all watch Ghost in the Shell straight through Van's DJ set, which will be, Van, do you want to give us a little primer?
Oh, it's going to be an homage to the major. Yeah, I definitely, I definitely tried to do something. I don't think I've ever seen this done before for a DJ set. So yeah, stay tuned, and I'm sure you're gonna like it if you like Ghost in the Shell.
Lovely.
Oh, we'll be. If you've noticed me just randomly laughing throughout the last half hour or so, it's because your thing is so funny.
It's wonderful, and it brings us all the way back to our conversation that we had at the beginning with VTubing and avatars. So I really appreciate you bringing that. You brought it all together so perfectly to mesh it with our conversation
so
for Ghost in the Shell. Thank you so much, Van.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys again soon, and I'll see you at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Van's gonna play such a huge role in the next Tokyo House Party, so stick around.
Yes. Van, feel free to hop out. I know you got to do stuff. Chat while Van is getting that. So how we do our watch parties before. We are going to be utilizing Amazon Prime's watch party feature, and so our Tokyo House Party view is kind of going to go off to the side of the screen here, and we'll bring the channel just to kind of a BRB screen, so you're not necessarily missing any conversation from us while the film is playing on the main channel screen. Be sure to integrate or connect your Twitch to your Prime account in order to have that same time sync with watching along with us, or watch at your leisure if that's something that you are neither capable nor feel like doing. No pressure. What I will say is we will be watching as much of the film, which is about half of the film, as it leads up to Van's stream. It's about, the film is an hour and 30 minutes, so we'll be watching, no, hour and 15, somewhere around there. Hour and 30, whatever. Anyways, but yes, as always, we extremely appreciate that each and every one of you have joined us for Tokyo House Party. We appreciate your support. The subscriptions that you provided go directly towards the support of the show and keeps us doing what we're doing. And it also gives you more emotes. As we receive more subscriptions, we get like emote slots. And so I'll just be drawing more icons for you all. And we can figure out what that is. But
and
yeah.
Both Derek and I will be in chat. I right now I'm in chat as Japanese Arts Foundation.
Yeah.
And Derek's in chat as Tokyo House Party. So
Yes.
Throughout the film, we'll be here chatting with you. We can talk about stuff we're seeing. So yeah.
Especially that boat scene. The boat scene's great, and all of it.
Yeah.
We won't see the final moments, that moment that we talked about with Kusanagi and the Puppet Master having this dialogue with one another. That's something that hopefully you'll continue on your own as we cut things off when Van's stream starts. So I'm going to bring things down. Sarah, any final words?
I just feel like so grateful for everybody today. I feel like chat has been like so chatty, and that's the most ideal. So thank you all so much for chatting with us today. And we hope that you will still let us know what you might be interested in, though we have some Tokyo House parties already planned. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, as well as sign up for our newsletter on our website, and a partridge in a pear tree.
That's perfect. Okay, chat, we will be starting things up in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. Ghost in Shells to start playing in no less than 30 seconds or so. Feel free to get a snack, hydrate, stretch your limbs, and all those things. And as always, thanks for being here. Hey everyone, just a heads up that we are going to shift things over to Sentimental Tokyo. So if you are still watching Ghost in the Shell, we hope you will continue the film at your home time. But as for the channel, we will be cutting things here. So we hope you enjoyed, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Tokyo House Party. See you around.